It's 12:08 exactly, and we are now joined by Aisha Royker. She is a member of the Muslim Personal Law Network, which is a group of scholars and activists from around South Africa who are working on, amongst other things, effecting change in our communities regarding the consequences of the non-recognition and non-regulation of religious marriages. But I understand that's all set to change, inshallah. And this obviously in a paper entitled The Change to Marriage Laws, which has been published by the Department of Home Affairs, and they are talking about introducing a new draft marriage policy in South Africa. So let's hear from Aisha, who's been long and hard at work on this issue on Muslim personal law, and how's that going to impact on us and other minority groups. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam, and shukran for having me.
My pleasure entirely. It's been a long haul, has it not?
It has been. There are some of us activists who've been at it since, way long, decades, and still we seem to, still be at the same position. We don't have any legislation enacted as yet. So it's encouraging that we are looking at potentially having some form of legislation. What that legislation is going to finally be, we don't know. So in 2018, I'm sure those who have been following the Women's Legal Centre case, there was a judgment that was handed down by Judge Desai and the full bench of judges. And in there, Judge Desai, they said that the state has a constitutional obligation to protect, regulate Muslim marriages, religious marriages. But that matter has subsequently gone on appeal, and it was heard now in September at the Supreme Court of Appeals, and we are waiting for judgment in that matter to be handed down. The Women's Legal Centre has issued a statement, and in that it said that the state said that it doesn't have a constitutional obligation to regulate Muslim marriages. Yes, so for us that's problematic because, we are in a democratic country. We govern, we rule by the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. So, we have fundamental rights that we have the right to equality. We have the right to, not be discriminated based on religion and sex and, sexual orientation and, various other things. And for the state to have said that, I think it is problematic.
Okay, Aisha, I'm going to make a very simplistic statement about Muslim marriages, and you can then just correct me as we go along. My understanding has always been, if you look at a Muslim marriage, even though it's not recognized by the state, technically it's really an anti-nuptial arrangement. Doesn't that serve us as women? Doesn't it serve us well, so to speak? Or perhaps I'm talking about independent women who are financially independent in their own rights. Would it then only serve those women well? Or am I looking at it very simplistically? Are there more implications, complications that can set in once your spouse passes on? Or does that scenario only unfold if there are subsequent spouses in that marriage, more than one wife?
Well, what we're finding, and as a network, we deal with women on the ground, and we have so many case studies where we have women who are in marriages for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. They give up their their earning capacity. They stay at home, they take care of the children, of the home, they assist in building this family, in creating this wealth, but it can't be quantified. So upon the dissolution of these marriages, when they obviously, because our marriages aren't legislated, we are directed to these religious bodies, to the ulama, who tell women that your marriages are out of commitment. Firstly, they tell you to sabr, go back to your husband and try and resolve this. Allah is most disappointed, Allah is
with due respect to them, but
Yeah,
They're not
but
serving us as women.
no,
I
they're
mean, they're
not.
not serving us.
So what happens is that the women are in a really in a disadvantaged position because our husbands have, and I'm speaking generally because there are cases where the roles are reversed, but for the most part, the men are in a stronger financial position than the woman. So the woman's given up, her studies, or she's been in the home, so she's not been earning her own income, but she has been contributing to the family in different ways, maybe not financially. So upon dissolution of the marriage, when marriages are now out of community of property, a woman is then said, everything is mine. If they've purchased a property, or if they have any wealth or any assets, it's in his name because it's out of community of property. So that's why it's important for us to have some framework. Now, when we're entering the marriage, and we go to these imams to perform the marriage, yes, they are Muslim marriage officers in that they can register a civil marriage simultaneously with a nikah. But what happens is that most of these, and we have had, and at the network, for the past 3 years, we've had roundtable discussions. So this is firsthand what we have received from representatives of the MJC, where we've been told that if a couple chooses to marry in community of property, a Muslim marriage officer who's affiliated with the MJC will not perform that nikah because, according to them, Muslim marriages are out of community of property. So the choice, a couple has a choice. If you feel that you want to share everything equally, that's taken away from you. You would then you can have a civil marriage, but it would be a separate procedure. You would then have to go to Home Affairs. So
Can I
yeah,
just stop you there, Aisha? Can I just ask you this question? What about you go ahead with the marriage officer, you do what is necessary, whatever documentation they have, and you ride along with them. But separate to that, you draw up your own marriage contract, whatever you deem fit as adequate coverage for you as the woman in the marriage and the man as well, whatever it may be, financial and otherwise. How does that separate document, which you can have signed off by a commissioner of oaths or whoever you need to take it to assign to as a legal and binding document, how would that serve you then? And then just bypass all the other drama that we seem to be facing head on from the beginning of this whole issue around Muslim marriages.
Look, the issue is always costs, right? So if you're going to have your separate marriage contract or you're going to have this bi-party agreement, you're still going to have to go to court to enforce it. And sometimes if there are any clauses that deal with religion, then the court is not going to make any order based on anything that has religious content to it. So even if we've had issues where we've had antenuptial contracts and the deeds office would not register the antenuptial contract because it has certain clauses which contain to religious, and they say they will not. So if it's a standard antenuptial contract, they're very happy to register it. But if you choose that you want to have anything additional in there, then it's not. It's quite difficult to register it. Yeah, so just going back to your previous question, so the women are left in a disadvantaged position, and because there's no legal framework, the first step is having to go to court to actually where we can say recognize your marriage, that it is recognized. So in certain, because of case law, there has been developments in when it comes to pension, when it comes to interstate succession, when it comes to the wills, inheritance and things like that. There has been some progress where Muslim women are now read in as spouses, are recognized as spouses. But for the main part, you need to go to court, and the whole process, it's costly, it's time consuming. It really works. It's financially, emotionally draining on a woman. And like I said previously, the woman is normally in a weaker position financially. So women give up. That's why the case law hasn't developed.
Okay. There's been much excitement about this, new marriage laws, supposedly. How do you feel about this court judgment? Are you really saying that it's still not serving us as Muslim women?
Well, there is no judgment yet. Judge
Oh,
Desai's
okay.
judgment, yeah, that was, I know in this recent week
Prelim.
there's been this video that's been doing the rounds,
Yes,
and that
yes.
is actually 2018. That's what I referred to earlier. That was the judgment in 2018, which has
Mm.
subsequently gone on appeal. So even the interim relief that was afforded in that judgment, it's now suspended pending the outcome of the Supreme Court of Appeals judgment. That matter. So we have to wait. Women are still in limbo. We still don't have any legal framework. We still don't have any support. So it is problematic. I do feel that having some form of regulation of Muslim marriages is necessary, because on entering a marriage or on exiting a marriage, you would already know what you are entitled to. So it is very important for us to have some form of legal framework. What that's going to look like, I'm not sure. But I am keen that, our network, the MPL network, we are keen to work with whoever it is that is, the powers that be that will be making these decisions. We feel that there needs to be some consultation, not just with a select group of people. It needs to be with the general public. And you must take into consideration that there are women from poor socioeconomic communities who might not be able to attend some of these. So these committees or, MPs, whoever it is, you need to go to the people. Go and listen to what the people are saying. Interact, communicate with organizations like us, organizations like Islamic Care Line, Women's Legal Center. We have activists who are on the ground, who are dealing with these issues on a daily basis, who can bring you the case studies, and you can hear, for yourself just what trauma, and it really is trauma, that women and children are going through.
Aisha, you referred to Judge Siraj Desai's YouTube clip that's making the rounds. What I'm referring to is a statement by the Department of Home Affairs has confirmed its plans to introduce a new draft marriage policy in South Africa, but has indicated that the process was delayed due to the coronavirus pandemic. So that tells me that there is something in the pipelines. And in a parliamentary presentation on Tuesday, the 6th of October, which was about a week or so ago, the department said that the policy was originally set to be gazetted for public consultation during 2021, the financial year, obviously, after which it will be submitted to Cabinet for approval by the 31st of March next year. Are we talking about the same thing? Does Judge Siraj Desai's clip tie in with what the department's talking about here?
So in the 2018 judgment, it was found that, yes, there is a constitutional obligation to regulate Muslim marriages. So what's happened subsequently is there's actually two processes. So the Department of Home Affairs has got one, and I think it's the Department of Justice who's got another, the similar process. So there's two processes happening simultaneously for the same thing. Right?
Okay.
So who's
Which just
listening to
confuses
who?
us even more.
Right. Who's listening to who?
Right.
And I think it is very important for there to be, for Muslim marriages, for there to be a marriage register. And the reason for that is you would immediately know who's married to who. And that, I think, is important when it comes to polygynous marriages. Because currently...
Okay, excuse me. I think I'm just way too optimistic. I just assumed all these years that automatically when a nikah was performed, that information went to a central Muslim database which registered all the marriages. And if that hasn't happened up to now, then I'm shocked. Because really,
I'm not aware of anything.
In this day and age, there's nothing like that in place yet. Surely there should be a database capturing all of this information and just streamlining all of our personal affairs.
Yes, no, I agree. And it is something that we as Network have been discussing, the need for there to be, consultation. And the ulama will say you don't need the first wife's permission. But really, if you're looking at who's married to who, what is the lineage, things like that, there's a lot of other things, not just about having a first wife's permission. If you look at the Recognition of Customary Marriages Act, it allows for polygamous marriages, but there needs to be an application made to the court. So the court will then look at the circumstances, financial capability. Is this man able to, provide for both families? Whereas with Muslim marriages, because there is no framework, there is no responsibility to register, to follow up, whatever, we're having incidences where men are taking their second, third, fourth wives without the first wife, knowing it definitely impacts on all the marriages. I mean, if they have one first wife or second wife, it definitely impacts on how much he's able to afford per family. So I feel there's an ethical duty on these ulamas who are conducting these marriages to do an investigation. I mean, I know someone who the night before the nikah, the imam is phoning the guy and the groom and saying, have you been married before? Are you married? Do you have any children? Are you able to, asking the questions the eve of the nikah.
That should have been done
way before.
However, let's just take that scenario, Aisha. Even if the guy had answered in the affirmative or negative, I'm not able to afford, but she is the second wife, is working, she's a young professional, she's financially independent in her own right, and based on that, there isn't an issue or a concern around financial upkeep or whatever excuse he comes up with. Does the imam have the right not to proceed with that nikah? I mean, really, it's out of his hands, is it not? He can't stop that marriage, can he?
No, he can't. But I just say that there's an ethical duty on the imam. It's not always done.
Right. Yeah. If there is that central database that you're referring to.
But even if there isn't, I mean, surely you should do due diligence and find out, is this person married? Does he have? And I mean, when we've engaged with ulama, the responsibility was turned onto the mother or the bride's family. You must make sure, you must do the questions. I asked, and just the mere fact that he asked the questions, he's been exempted, or I've done my duty. We really need to look at, and I mean, we're going off topic from the Muslim marriages, but there's such a lot. It's such a rich, there's so many issues that women are facing. It's not just about enacting legislation. We have to look at the lived experience of women. What are they going through?
I don't think we've gone off topic. I think it's really so very relevant. Because you've now just raised something about questions to be asked. And I'm just wondering, fine, you raised the questions, but is it going to make a difference in the two people's lives, or that circle, the circle of that family circle's life? Is it going to make a difference whether the guy was or is married? It's not going to stop him from proceeding with that marriage.
No, it's not going to stop him. But the fact is that if you're asking these questions, if the second or the subsequent wife is aware of it and she's going into it willingly, alhamdulillah. But if she's unaware of these things, and she's not happy with it,
right.
That's where I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
You mean women are still being hoodwinked?
Yes, they are.
Good in this day and age. Aisha, I'll leave you to wrap up and summarize what we've covered on the show this morning. And inshallah, we can hook up with you guys again if there are any positive or any changes whatsoever as far as the marriage bill or Muslim personal law is concerned.
Shukran for having me. It really was, like I've said, there's such a lot, and 15, 20 minutes is not enough time. True. If you really want to delve into the nitty-gritty. But with regards to legislation, we support support legislation for Muslim marriages or religious marriages, because it really will assist women in with access to justice. You will immediately know what your rights are. There needs to be a lot more advocacy. There needs to be workshops. There needs to be knowledge building sessions for women, for the youth of today, so that those entering marriages are aware of the choices that they have. You have a choice. Do you want to get married in community or out of community? So of property, do you want to share the lived experiences of women, tell the story on the ground, how women are left disadvantaged, they're left vulnerable, they're left without, finances, or they struggle to cope, so there's a lot. Legislation is important. It will certainly assist in this. I don't know what the final legislation is going to look like, but as a network, we are keen to engage with other organizations, to engage with the state, to engage with stakeholders in this, and bring to the fore what the lived realities are, and perhaps assist in a different reading of what the law allows.
What a pleasure talking to you. My final question to you: how do we, as a Muslim community in South Africa, compare with our Muslim personal law issues as compared to other Muslims around the world?
There's a lot of similarity. The women around the world are facing a lot of the same issues as us. Singapore is a good example of how they have merged both the secular and the Islamic law. So they have courts for Islamic law and Sharia courts, and they have the secular courts, and they work hand in hand. There are African countries. I think Tunisia is a good example as well. So there are our challenges are very similar to other countries, but we can learn from them how they have managed to merge the two, or to get the two. Islam is our religion is fluid. It's we can learn from our history and implement that in today, the challenges that we face today. So there are similarities, but there are differences, but there is hope. It can be done.
And obviously, we are hopeful here in South Africa, knowing that we have the MPL network, who've got our backs. And no doubt we will be talking some more. It's been lovely talking to you. Shukran so very much for your time. And Assalamu alaikum.
Shukran so much for having me, and I look forward to engaging further.
Take care. 12:30 exactly. Let's go for an ad break and we'll get back. We will be talking some more. We have our competition coming up. I'm super excited about that. But we'll also be talking to an organization, an aid organization, about the challenges they've been facing. And they are obviously they talking about their charity work, and they are, I think, I'm not quite sure which, Islamic Relief South Africa. How could I even forget something like that? So they're very keen to share some very important and relevant information with us today. And like I said, don't forget, our competition's coming up. So stay with us.